Ken Wyatt, thank you for your time this afternoon. Now, you're a member of his party, so you would be impressed, but you were particularly touched by the Prime Minister's speech today as he tabled the Closing the Gap report. How did you rate it?
I rated it equal to Paul Keating's Redfern speech. I was there. And then watching Kevin Rudd deliver the apology. Both very powerful landmark speeches. And the use of Ngunnawal language today at the beginning of his speech, but signalling that we're now going to work differently and in partnership with Aboriginal leaders, not just one or two, but leaders and the community, sets that speech, in my view, equal to the other two.
That's a big call, and obviously the impact of speaking an Indigenous language in the Parliament by a Prime Minister is quite significant. But what you're also touching on there, working with the Indigenous community and not just the leaders, why is this a different approach to what we've seen before?
Because I think often when you listen to and analyse all the leaders' speeches that have been made over, say, the last decade on Aboriginal affairs, there's been talk about programs that need to go into place, more funding, the way in which we will deliver. But the emphasis today was on we won't just deliver, we will work with, we will find solutions. One size doesn't fit all, with very strong, powerful messages. There wasn't a focus on just data. It was about changing the fabric of how government relates to a section of our community that is challenged on many fronts by having gaps in their lives, their health, education, etc.
But surely a lot of people would say we've been trying to do that for many, many years. It's time for solutions now. We have tried working with the Indigenous community on new ideas.
Yeah, there has been, but I think in this instance the message was far more powerful and really resonated with the fact that Aboriginal affairs in the future is going to be different. This is not about governments doing it. This is about fundamentally all of us working together to affect the changes. Because I've always believed that nothing will change unless you've got the community being involved and being key players, but for individuals, families and a community to take responsibility as well.
When we look at the report itself today, mixed results. Life expectancy must be one of the most important, or if not the most important of all of these targets. We're not on track to see that brought down. It's still at 10 years, this life expectancy gap. Why do you think?
Because one of the problems is that chronic diseases and chronic conditions are a lifetime. And so they're going to manifest themselves as people get older. What we've got to do is go back to the early years, consolidate at that level, provide the preventative measures in the health continuum.
And that takes a long time to see the progress.
So we've got to work on that notion. But in the meantime, we can also address those with chronic conditions by keeping them alive. Because I've always used this term that if Aboriginal history is to survive, we've got to keep our living books alive to tell the stories and impart the knowledge.
So what then would you like to see happen that's not happening right now to do some of those things, and which organisations actually need to do more?
Well, Aboriginal community controlled health sector plays an important role, but I think we've got to look at the accountability of everyone who is involved in the delivering of health services and programs to Aboriginal people. Funding is always needed, but I think that if we don't focus on the fact that the health of Aboriginal people is everybody's business, and every person working in the health arena has a very key and pivotal role in helping reduce the gap in life expectancy. Because unless we take that holistic approach, then we will not see the gap change.
Now, Bill Shorten in his speech made a number of commitments. First and foremost was to hold the referendum on Indigenous recognition in May next year, May 2017. You've been closely involved in this process. Do you support that time frame?
It'll depend on the question that comes out of the work of the council. If the wording is not right, then I personally would prefer to see it deferred.
So we shouldn't be driven by a date, we should be driven by getting the wording right.
And it's a key thing to get the wording right, but it's also important that we develop the awareness in broader Australian society, because if we get a vote that's not the majority of states and the majority of people, then we leave this residual scar, and we can't afford that.
And How confident are you that they are going to come up with the right wording? Some people see this as drifting, this issue. It's been going on for quite a while and we still haven't had a set of words put forward.
No, it is drifting. However, I'm confident that the two co-chairs will certainly want to try and arrive at a time in which there is a question that can be put. But if it isn't, then I think we need to delay.
Ken Wyatt, good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us this afternoon.
No, it's a pleasure.